This is lesson number 79, Algebra 2, and it is called metric volume and 45, 45, 90-degree triangles. Okay, so at this point when you have been doing units and you wanted to change, let's say 20 feet to inches, you would do this, and then you would put a foot here, and then you'd see, okay, if I'm going from feet to inches, do I know anything about feet and inches? Yes, I know that there is 1 foot and there's 12 inches, and then you would cancel that and cancel that, multiply, and whatever unit was not crossed out would be your end, and you'd be done. Then you went and did something like, if I wanted to convert 20 square meters to centimeters, you would do 20 meters squared times line, and because this was a 2, you would make 2 of those lines. And you'd put 1 meter there and 1 there, and you would say, do I know anything about the ratio or the comparison between centimeters and meters? Yes, I do. I know that there are 100 centimeters in 1 meter, and you would write this twice because it's square. You also learned that if you had 20 cubic meters and you wanted to change it to cubic centimeters, now a cubic is something that has 3 dimensions, whereas a square was like a piece of land looking down, and you knew 1 dimension here and 1 dimension there, so you have 2, so it's 2-dimensional, length times width, whereas cube is length times width times height, and that's what we're doing right here. So you would draw your 20 meters cubed, and because there was a 3 there, you would make 3 of these lines. And you would determine whether or not you know enough about meters and centimeters to know that there's a comparison, and yes, you do. Again, there's 100, and you would write this all 3 times, and you would then cancel out your meters with one of those, that one with another one, and that one with another one, and you're left with centimeters. So when you multiply 20 times 100 times 100 times 100, you get some big number, and you have 3 centimeters here that you're putting, so it's going to be cubed. Okay, so we've done all that. Alright, now when you're doing this volume thing, one of the things that's important to remember is when you're doing volume, you're doing how much a certain object will hold, how much liquid maybe a certain object will hold. Now when you measure this, you don't say I have 1 cubic feet. You usually say you have 1 gallon or 1 quart or a pint. When you're dealing with volume in the English system, it's usually gallons, pints, quarts, cups, that kind of thing. It's not in a length of measure that you've multiplied 3 times. Like, you don't use cubic inches, cubic feet, cubic yards very much. When you're dealing with a liquid, you use gallons, quarts, and pints, etc. The same thing is true when you're doing metric, and that's what we're going to be doing today. Is metric, you don't really use, I have 300 cubic centimeters, because that's a length. Usually what you use is liters. I have 1 liter, half a liter, 8 liters, something like that. And the nice thing about metric is everything's based on liters instead of gallons, ounces, pints, quarts, cups, tablespoons, all that. Everything's based on liters. So you either have 1 liter, a kiloliter, which is 1,000 liters, a milliliter, a deciliter, so everything's based on the liter, so it makes it a lot easier. So the problem is sometimes they give a volume in a length cubed and they want you to change it to liters. Alright, so how do you do that? How do you change a length to a volume like that? Well, there's a little handy conversion here that if you're going in the medical field, it's good to know too. And it's 1 cubic centimeter equals 1 milliliter. That is a good conversion to remember. When you are getting a dose of medicine, and they will say oftentimes give them 3 cc's. A cc means a cubic centimeter. Okay, so in the medical field they'll use cc's, but it can be translated to milliliters. So 3 cc's is the same as 3 milliliters. So let's go ahead and practice some of these conversions here using this conversion right here that will be very handy for you later on. Alright, so they are saying in example 79.1, use unit multipliers to convert 14,000 milliliters to liters. Alright, so what we do is we write our 14,000 milliliters, and because there's nothing cubed or anything, we only write this one, and we put milliliters on the bottom. Alright, now the question is, do we know a comparison between milliliters and liters? Well, yes, we do. Milli means 1,000, so that means there's 1,000 of these in one of these. So I go ahead and write this as 1,000 and 1 there, because the comparison is 1 to 1,000. Then remember, you cancel that with that, and whatever's left is your ending, and we have 14,000 over 1,000, and we can just go ahead and cross out the zeros, cancel the zeros, and probably won't even have to divide. There we go. 14 liters is your answer there. Okay, let's look at the next example, 79.2. So I'm going to go ahead and put my 1 cubic centimeter equals 1 milliliter, just so I remember that. And it says convert 4 cubic feet to liters. 4 cubic feet to liters. Alright, so we're going to write 4 feet cubed, and that 3 there means that we do 1, 2, 3. Okay, now we're going from feet to liters, which means we're going to have to go from feet, we're going to have to switch from feet to metric somewhere. And I know our metric conversion is 2.54 centimeters equals 1 inch. So what we're going to do is we're going to go from feet to inches, and then to centimeters, and then to milliliters, and then to liters. So we're going to kind of go this roundabout way, but I don't know of any way to switch to metric except inches to centimeters. So I'm going to have to change my feet to inches, and then jump over into the metric side and go from there. So let's go ahead and put my feet 3 times, and I know that there are 12 inches in a foot, and knowing that, I can cancel this foot, and this foot with these 3, and I'm left with inches. Inches is not what I'm looking for, so I'm going to keep going, and because I'm dealing with cubics still, I haven't switched, I'm going to have to do this 3 more times. And I know that 1 inch is 2.54, and I'm going to go ahead and write that. And I'm going to make my pen smaller. And that's centimeters, centimeters, centimeters. Alright, so I can cancel that with that, that with that, that with that. So the only thing I have left is 3 of those centimeters, and I'm going to go down below here. And now at this point I'm converting centimeters, because I have 3 of them here. So I've got cubic centimeters, and I'm going to change it to milliliters. So this is where I switch from how the book does this just a little bit. Alright, so I've got cubic centimeters. Now notice a cubic centimeter can switch to 1 milliliter. There's no cubics here. So I've got my cubic centimeters here, so I only have to write 1 centimeter cubed to 1 milliliter. And then these 3 centimeters will cancel these 3 centimeters up here. And that will cancel that. So I'm left with milliliters. Is milliliters what I'm looking for? No, I'm trying to find liters, so I have to keep going. But now I'm in metric, and now I'm in volume, and I don't have any cubes. So I put milliliters down here, and there are 1,000 milliliters in 1 liter. And I can cancel that and cancel that, and I'm left with liters, so I know I'm done. So now I multiply 4 times 12 times 12 times 12 times this times this times this, and then I divide it by 1,000, and I get my answer. So actually you can leave the answer as 4. You don't have to actually multiply all these. If you want to, you can. And it's liters. So I'm happy with an answer that looks like that. Now if you multiply, whoops, I'm sorry, this is 1,000, isn't it? Okay. So probably the part that is going to get you is right here. Okay, so that is our conversion, is 1 cubic centimeter. So there are 3 centimeters, and they're right here, and they canceled with these 3. Now I suppose if you want, you could, let's see if I can get rid of my answer here. I suppose if you want, what happens when I do that? We could, instead of write this, we could write it as 1 milliliter but the problem is we don't have 3 milliliters, because volume, when you're dealing with liters, is not cubed. So that can be a problem there. So I would just leave it as 1 milliliter over 1 centimeter cubed, and then know that you have 3 centimeters down here that can cancel with each of these up here, and you're left with milliliters. And then you can just go ahead and change your milliliters to liters, and then that will cancel with that one. So that's what I would do. Alright, so let's do one more, and then we'll get into 4590 triangles, which should be real short, and then we'll be done with lesson 79.